What's up, everybody? My name is Amine, aka Brand. This is episode 50 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris and Deon this evening. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Doing
What's good?
great.
This is a milestone for me and Chris. We and Deon, we've got to 50 episodes. That's kind of insane. Thing about we've done. It's not even been a year, Chris, since we started this.
Mm,
And
Oh man, it hasn't been a year already.
I don't think it has. I think we started right in the middle, might in March maybe. So it might have been. I have to go back and look, but I know a lot of people like listen to it. I know people like watching the videos. I know the videos get a lot of traction on my YouTube channel and stuff. So I do think for everybody who's been watching and enjoying, we have an interesting show tonight because we're gonna be talking about the charts from this week, and mainly our big thing tonight is both the episodes: Mash episode 24 and Soul Leveling episode 12. The bigger of the two is Soul Leveling. Soul Leveling episode 12. I I wrote 2 pages of notes for that because um,
Wow.
so,
Oh,
so,
dang.
so back half of that episode has one of the best dialogue sequences I've seen in an anime in a long time, and we'll get into that because it's using 2 characters, our main character and somebody else, and it's one of the cooler dialogue things they do. And Mash was just there. I hate to say it, but um, let's get into this first. I'm gonna ask the gentleman this question. With the spring season starting up now, we had a couple shows come out. We had Remonster, uh, games that we play,
God's
God's
games we
games
play.
we play. Title weird, but that's yeah. And we had Train to the End of the World, and we also had Spice and Wolf. Um, so I'm gonna start off with Chris for this. Chris, what was the out of those 4 we watched that came out for the spring season? Which one was that you were really kind of surprised by, or kind of caught your eye to
Okay,
watch?
so there was a lot of hype around Monster and for me, the best one out of that and God's game we play was surprisingly okay. Like I feel like they're kind of digging back into the old a little bit. Like okay, I can see where y'all got this inspiration from now. With this first episode, let's see how y'all do, cause like first episodes, you like how y'all start off. Second and third is when y'all start setting the pace. So
Okay.
this is what I'm kind of looking forward to.
I know Dion said you didn't get to watch. You watched a little bit of the God's game we play, but you mainly did watch Remonster. What you think of Remonster? What was that big thing for Remonster that you thought about?
I've been trying to get into the series of stuff for a long time now.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, okay, let me go ahead and check this out and see if I can actually get into this one. And it was surprisingly well done. Um, I say surprisingly because I don't have big hopes for isekai type stuff in this day and age.
Uh,
But it was pretty well done. And like you said, God's game we play, I'm gonna have to sit down and rewatch that one. Um it
but
seems interesting,
mhm. I
so I don't want
think
to write it off, but
I think this was an interesting start to the season because 3 of the 4, Chris, if I remember correctly, and I think Dion might confirm this too, all were dubbed. They were already in English,
Yep.
which is kind of
yeah.
odd because you haven't had that before. This is probably the first season that I've been watching anime. You both these guys have watched anime longer than me, where we've had dub and sub come out at the exact same time. Is that going to be a trend for the future for us this season and seasons beyond? Where like I think me and Chris kind of talked about, and I actually think this Dion with the bigger studios that have the money, the budget, the teams, can they put out dub and sub at the same time and really have no issues? Or do you see a lot of these smaller teams do it as well at times? Might just go dub first and then do sub later. What do you see about that?
Well, I'm game for it as a dub watcher, and I think one of our first episodes together, you guys asked me the question on would I want it to be released this way, and this is amazing because now you're allowing everyone to partake in on opening day. This is opening day, World Series, and now everybody, whether you're a sub watcher, dub watcher, both, whatever, you can partake, and it's amazing. Um, but this year particularly, we've been seeing a lot of these English releases, some Dutch releases even the same day of the Japanese originals, and it's been great for me as a English watcher. It's been great for me. So
I I'm asking this to Chris, but going back that I agree with you. I'm an English watcher naturally myself. I can watch something in sub for the most part because I can read the subtitles if I haven't like the screen I watch my stuff on for the podcast and just in general is pretty big enough where the subtitles are pretty well big. Good example that where it doesn't really work for me is when I'm sitting on my dad or my parents' TV out in the front room. It's like a 55-inch huge like flat screen TV, and the subtitles are really tiny. That doesn't really work very well because like
yeah,
I'm far away. I'm sitting far away from the TV. The couch is not, the subtitles I wish were bigger, but you can't cover both the screen with that kind of thing like that. So, Chris, my question to
yeah.
you is: do you think this is going to help ultimately with people understanding what's going on to the stories of some of these shows? And does it also fix a problem that kind of always happens with the manga, where they try to translate the manga when they have new episodes of the manga, people are trying to translate it and trying to see what they're saying. But now, if the manga and the series is on anime at the same point, you don't have that problem as much.
So it isn't super abnormal that there's more than one language coming out at the same time. However, we have seen it. This is the first time we've seen it in come out as regular as they're trying to make it. So
Right.
I'm definitely all for it. I mean, because I can definitely with it being in the common language of English, I can. It's easier for me to pay attention to the artwork of the shows when I see them too. So I do hope it does become a regular thing. At the same time, I just hope we give credit to the actual voice actors of each yeah
Oh yeah.
each language.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's been a debate for the longest time, and it's a debate I think it it's a debate for the longest time between anime fans. It's the same debate we get with the console wars, which I think the console wars are so stupid, but I'm not going to get into that. It's a debate subbed or dubbed. Ultimately, to me, it's the person's preference because most people don't. If you can, if you can be engrossed by reading subtitles and still follow what they were doing, the action fine, cool. But if you need the English stuff just to keep what they're saying intact and you get the dialogue, but also you can see the stuff as you're reading it, that's also cool. The It's the old problem to me because a lot of my people I work with and people think it's kind of weird. I remember when I first started bringing the mangas to work, people were like, "What? What? This is a weird book. How do you read this?" Like I said, it's a comic book and it's reversed from what we do. We read left to right. They read right to left. It's backwards. So you read from the back forward, back to the other end. And they're always like, I don't get how people do that. It's like all over in Europe, Japan, most of those countries do that naturally. Normally, we just don't do it. So it's like, yeah, I do. I think it's do we should you watch it in sub or dub first? It just depends on you. I don't think sub should be done first, and you just got to go back and watch it in dub. Most people won't. Vice versa, if you're going to watch it in dub first, most people are going to go watch it back in sub very often, unless something just really amazing. But the one example this brings up to me was two shows. When we watched God's Game We Play and Remonster really gave me an indication. Oh, putting this in dub first helped you understand what this character is all about because it's an isekai, and the funny thing about it, it's not an isekai in the traditional sense where he's not from Earth, he's from another world entirely, going to this world. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, you figured that out, and I think that's the other thing you get from with this thing in English first. You get the context behind the characters, the world, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
I
but what's going to be really interesting to see is how many other shows are coming out, and that's going to be dubbed and subbed at the same time because we know that Kaiju 8 is premiering in both dubbed and subbed,
Yeah.
and its original language.
correct. Okay? I'm gonna ask you both this then. Theon first. Do you think we see Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia start out dubbed and subbed when it first comes out?
Um, that's a hard one because they've already been on a roll. They've already started out the way they have, right? Demon Slayer, I can see doing it
because they did it for the movie.
because they did the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
And their English is always like right there neck and neck with
With the
the original.
original.
My Hero, they're big on their Japanese
Okay.
and their English comes a little bit later. I want to say even almost to the season end we didn't get
Yeah, we
until
did it. Yeah.
man
Yes, but I think that might
like
change with the introduction of the American hero.
see and that's where my hesitation lies for me just saying no straight away is because first of all times are changing. We're seeing so
Mhm.
much shift towards the American style animation, the American style being acknowledged by Japanese culture as far as being okay as being in the anime world. It was for a long time we were getting pushback. Oh, you're not a real anime watcher if you watch it in dub. Now it's like, well, I just prefer it in sub versus oh no, you shouldn't watch it in dub, you know. So we're seeing this culture shift where by the end of 2024, we may never see that split again as long as you have the like you say the big studios or the any studio. I'm not gonna say the big studios. Any studio have the availability of an English dub staff. Um, you may see it come right out,
Do you,
which would be great.
which would be awesome. But I'm gonna ask you this I have a question in my brain. I'm gonna ask you back, Dion. Do you
Mhm.
think it's kind of bad to cater to the American market because shows and countries have done that in the past and it hasn't done the return on investment that they wanted and ended up being like, well, we catered to the American market, you didn't help us out. The only exception I can see to that, there's a few. Nintendo caters to the American market.
Yeah,
Um, Most of Square Enix and their stuff kind of caters to the American market to a point. So it's like they do it because they know they get the most bang for the buck. They can make people really buy the toys. Pokemon's big in America. Pokemon's big here, even though it's not. Like,
yeah.
do you see that's going to be a trend, or that's just going to be a one-off thing, depending on what studio want to do?
I think it'll be a caution. Like you go into it cautionary. You don't just be like, "Yeah, American, let's go," because we do have an act to renege on a lot of stuff. But
Mhm.
the way that the
Disney.
culture is going right now, American is a consumption culture. We
Yeah,
consume what we want when we want. We don't care how we get it. We just want it. They say, "Oh yeah, diamonds were mined in Africa by children who were being beat over." I don't care. I want my diamond chain. That's America, right? So you get anime targeted towards Americans, you're going to get your profit from it. It's teetering on if you lose your audience in Japan because of
That
that.
part.
Like if
That
you're gonna
part.
make that sacrifice, it has to be far worth it where or you don't lose anything. Which I personally think if you keep it the way it is now, where you release both same time and you're not just catering to America, you're just making that handicap for Americas. Like you're not placing this in freaking Texas. Your next anime isn't located in New York, New York,
yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
still Japanese anime. You just give them a little push off and you'll be okay. But don't start
Uh,
completely handing over your genre to Americans. Nah, you're gonna be ripped off.
Same question.
Yeah,
Question to you,
even
Chris.
Americans.
What do you
I
think
was gonna.
about?
s- Well, I'm
That.
picking back off of Deon. Like I agree because you get to the point to where you're catering to Americans, where I wouldn't even call it an anime from the at that point. I mean,
Exactly.
because for me, that's where I somewhat have started to classify a difference between
Yeah.
American shows and Japanese and anime. Is I call anything animated in America, I straight up call it cartoon.
Somewhat.
It has no serious. Well, most of them don't have a serious plot. Most of them are made for kids under the age of 13.
Yeah. And you have your
Whereas
exceptions like
Gen
superhero
Lock,
stuff, but
yeah,
yeah.
I mean there are a few notable shows. Like I would even say like Avatar is like borderline, American anime. So
Yeah, like I
you
like
see,
Avatar as an anime cartoon.
but the things that they touch on, I feel like makes it a somewhat of an anime.
Uh, the only reason I bring this question up because I thought about something which was kind of interesting. I don't know why it kind of get in my brain, but it kind of thought provoking to me because the other big thing I noticed from these past like year and year and a half and just following, I kind of followed the content a little bit because there was just WinCon just happened here in at Gaylord, Texan. It if you think about it, anime community has been really big on the cosplay scene, and the cosplay scene's gotten stronger across the board. But what that's also done is also got people into certain characters. One of the top characters is uh, Gojo from JJK. Like everybody knew who Chung Li is from Street Fighter, the game, or Street Fighter, the movie, or I can go down a list. Mashle is one of the top King of Fighters characters, or even more so, Tundra is probably in that list of he's one of the most well known characters from Demon Slayer, but also he's one of the most known characters in general. And
Yeah.
I think the thing is with us as like you all talk about, I agree with everything y'all said. I think the big thing is everything's about marketability. And Chris remembers this when we went to Akon last year. How many when we I remember we saw a dad and her little girl. She was dressed as Nezuko, he was dressed as Tondro. He built the box. He had built the box where she's sitting in. Like it it kind of feels like America tries to embrace anime to a point, but they aren't gonna fully embrace it without
That's because they still want to program people. But that's another topic.
they're not gonna fully embrace it without a good reason to embrace it. And I think for the other
Well, to me another thing is too, it's so expensive here to embrace that culture. Even if you try to do it yourself, you got to get into a whole new hobby, 3D printing, and unless it gets serious when you get to trying to build your own costumes and actually go to cons and stuff, it gets expensive.
I, I,
Versus,
I looked up because I thought about because I'm getting solo now because I'm still reading the audiobook, but I'm like, do I want to just get the books generally? Literally, I could buy all the books are about $12 on Amazon. But if I want the full set, it's 155 bucks. I'm not paying 150 more bucks for $8. It's
yeah,
not worth.
it's expensive. It's crazy, and that's
And
American prices.
that's the problem. I I don't. I wonder if this year is going to be one thing. Before we get into charts, I think this year is going to be very interesting. This spring season and seasons beyond. I think by the end of 2024, I think you'll have the most new anime fans you probably will have ever in the last 10 to 15 years. In the sense that I think you're going to have a lot of new fans coming to space from other things. Soul Level did this season. I think you're gonna have it with Demon Slayer ending. A lot of people are gonna go find Demon Slayer. One of my friends from work just said he finished Black Clover, including the movie, and now he's trying to find something else to watch. Like, and he heard about Solo, and he might get in that. He might try something else. But it it tells me that the trend is getting the younger generation into it, not trying to push everybody into it, but at the same time, seeing where you can get the new fan base because that's what they're only wanting. New fan bases to get in anime and go back, see if this new stuff hits, and if it does, then go back to find the old stuff. But if that
Yeah.
doesn't work, you still have the old guard there, but you don't want to change anything for the old guard who's been around like you'll have 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, you got fans here. I mean, I want to say 7 out of 10 American children watch anime, and
That's
In some
that's of
form.
all ages. Whether it's Glitter Force to Naruto, 'cause I know a lot of kids still get into Naruto to this day. Or
Mm.
Demon Slayer is a big one that got a lot of kids. Oh, my household, I have 4 out of 5 of my kids watch anime.
And then
They've
there are
already
even
watched
the
Naruto,
age
One
group that
Piece.
watches.
Yeah,
Can y'all hear me?
yeah.
slightly.
What'd you say?
I was gonna say that we can't forget about that generation of kids that got into JoJo.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah, my
Bizarre Adventure.
teenager loves JoJo. She
Bizarre Adventure.
watched everyone. She watched them before I finished them,
I think
and
those
I've been
interesting.
watching them since they came out.
I think it's an interesting topic because seeing the new stuff that come out, all like Chris said, all the new stuff's pretty good that we've seen so far for this season, this new season. The four shows we watched hit pretty well. Spice Wolf's a remake, but one thing me and Chris both, I've never seen Spice Wolf, so for me, when I saw it for something like, oh, this animation looks better, and they really fixed up a lot of things, and you can and Chris even said, oh yeah, they fixed the animation. Some of the stuff they did here and here is well done. So like do I want to see more remakes come into play with anime? No, but if you do them once in a while, yeah, that'd be a good idea to
I
do.
could
Just
see
because,
a remake of like the older stuff,
yeah,
like
I
Inuyasha or something like that. I could see a remake of stuff like that.
I think with the Devil May Cry show, and that's the one I kind of thought, hey, would I want to see her make it the original show? It's like the original Devil May Cry cart series where it's like 12 episodes, and they did it just to modern standards now. Oh, absolutely, it would look kind of cool because you could
Yeah.
redo the coloring, the lighting, a lot of the characterizations. It's not a bad adaptation from the DVD. It's well done. Um,
I think the biggest thing that can come from remakes is the tonal changes.
the tonal.
Our conversations from the early or even mid to late 90s and early 2000s are not the same type of conversations and tonal signals that we send today. So, like if we watch something like uh what's a good one from back. Let's
Eon
just say
Flux.
something like, oh yeah, something like that. It's now, even though that was more futuristic, it's still now old school
Mhm.
Mm.
in comparison to what we have today.
And it's funny. I'm gonna say this right now, ladies and gentlemen. I feel bad because I give these guys a deep topic like this, and we're only talking about new stuff, but then we get to roll into this, which is not a bad thing. That's the point. But it's funny because you think about it now, and you think about what's gonna come, what's coming down the pipe with a lot of things. You're just like, okay, they I think the anime world now is kind of like, okay, we can ramp this up. We can make it look a lot better than it is. We can do a lot of these things, and they ain't holding back because you see these first four shows didn't hold back. What do you think about the rest of this season? What do you think about the rest of this year? Because the rest of this year could be something insane. And like Chris said in the previous podcast, this could be one of the greatest seasons for anime in a long time. One of the best. This
Has the
also
potential. It
has the
definitely
potential
has the
to be
potential.
potentially one of the greatest seasons for anime, but also we just become one of the greatest years for anime because it's just like, okay, y'all just doing things you
Oh yeah.
don't expect. Rolling into that, let's roll into these charts because I'm kind of confused about one thing, and it's kind of something I want to say to most of the Mash fans out there, but we'll get into that. um,
Ah, hey.
Danger, Dangers in My Heart season two is that one. It sweep the charts, the first anime to do that for Anime Corner as when they've been doing the charts. That's kind of amazing. Apothecary Diaries at two. Friend Beyond Journey's End at three, went up one spot. Ronda Crimson jumped 6 spots. Solo Leveling went up one spot to five. The seven time loop, Wearing My Worst Enemy, went up one spot. Mash dropped 4 spots to seven. Classroom Elite dropped 3 spots. Delicious in Dungeon went up 4 spots, and A Sign of My Affection dropped 2 spots. Chris, what is your big takeaway from this chart? This is for week 12, March 22nd through March 29th.
Bro, this chart sucks. This chart sucks.
All right, go ahead. Explain.
Woo! You gonna make me die over here, man.
Like, why do you think it sucks?
Oh, I know why.
Wait, what do you think that?
Please explain.
But okay, but look, Dangerous in My Heart is a decently good show. I like it,
Mm.
but it's not something I can sit and binge watch. So maybe that's my personal opinion, but it don't belong in the number one spot,
I watched the
especially
first
through
two
a whole
episodes
season.
and couldn't get through it.
Oh, see,
Ooh.
it's okay. I'm not gonna go into that. The second thing was that the second thing was that Fury is in is still in the number top three. Bro, with that show being as slow as it was, come on, bro. Like I don't know what was more of a snooze fest, Dangerous in My Heart or Fury, because but both of them. Lastly, the Delicious and Dungeons, I feel like should be somewhat higher on the list. I feel like they should have either the number four or the number five, because those last two episodes really did a whole 360. Like, and
Hmm.
and and, and I mean to say what I said. If the second to last episode was a 180, and then they turned around and did it again in the next episode. So it was like, wow, this is how y'all keep the same plot for 2 seasons. Okay, I'm with it.
Deon, what do you think about this chart?
Well, he's already touched on the top three. Well, the 1 and 3, because two, I can get behind two a lot more than I can get behind 1 and 3. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
that's
Okay.
crazy. And
Bro, that
it
show had a major low and a major high. Like, okay.
yeah. And it's consistently good.
Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Ragnar Krisen reaching the last episode, reaching I think it's the last episode. One of the last episodes,
It should be.
reaching
Yeah.
number 4, jumping 6 spots on this last week of this week's thing is ridiculous. I'm proud of it. But how does it beat Solo Leveling?
I,
How does that
okay.
happen?
There's two things on this. I'm sorry to cut you off. There's two things on this list. I'm kind of annoyed by. One, Solo Level should be in the top three. That's not. I think
Yes.
you drop first Beyond Journey's End out of that automatically. Ultimately, the other one and the one I have to say, it's kind of funny. It's happening again. Mash, wow, it was at three and went to seven. Here's the funny
Mm-hmm.
thing. Here's the funny thing. Everybody thinks Mash is super funny and just kind of crazy, but yet the last two episodes, including the ninth episode we're gonna watch, went serious. I'm wondering if the seriousness dropped a lot of people out. I'm wondering the fact that you gave us a story now. People are like, nope, I'm not watching this now. It shocked me. It
You
shocks
know what,
me.
B Mac? I think this is what I think, right? People took it as a Looney Tune show and then realized that's not the intention of the show. They, like you guys were saying, turn your brain off, and
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
enjoy.
cool. But then when you actually get into the meat and potatoes of the show, which is the last 4 episodes when everything's supposed to be rounding off, people realize, oh, they really were trying to tie a plot together. And they understand that there's no plot to tie together in this season. I'm
It,
surprised it only dropped 4.
it wasn't gonna drop further because I think of still people like the character as Mash the character. It's not as terrible as anybody
He
other
wasn't
character.
even in the last 2 episodes.
No, he wasn't. I think he makes a cameo in the last episode. Then he doesn't do nothing in
Yeah.
the episode before that. I don't know. That's just funny to me because that just tells me people were kind of just hyping it up so much, and then it just kind of just falls off a cliff again. The
This
other
is a
one,
favoritism list. This isn't a top 10 list. It's a favoritism list.
that's true, but the other one I have to
Solo
agree with.
leveling should have been top 3.
I have to agree with Chris on this. I think Delicious Dungeon should be higher. That's also the one I'm like, okay, Delicious Dungeon should be ultimately higher because it deserves that spot. It deserves a top five for what that show is about. But
But
then
let
if
me
you really,
ask you,
mhm.
what on this list, right? Because now both of you, Chris, as well, what on this list deserves to be behind Delicious and Dungeon?
On this list, what I
uh,
would put behind Delicious
Besides
in Dungeon?
besides number one and number three.
I think if you're gonna go that route, then wrong way to use healing magic could be there. I could
I'm
also
saying you guys have said that Delicious and Dungeon should be higher on the list. Where would it go?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I would keep so it'd be apothecary, delicious dungeon, soul leveling. If you told me that way.
You would give
I would
Delicious
put
and Dungeon better than solo leveling?
Just because I think the story for Delicious Dungeon for a drama is probably one of the best drama stories.
Oh wow.
But I think Soul Leveling is one of the best acting told stories. If tell me
Because
if I'm
this is
wrong,
the
Chris.
Egress episode, right?
Yes, the Secrets episode.
yes.
I have to
So
go binge Delicious and Dungeon now. If you would put that above,
Delicious in Dungeon is quite good though. So I don't know if I will put it there. Like honestly, I'm Brandon. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next chart.
Okay.
But the chart, I like the chart from Anime
The-
Weekly.
yeah, which is the Reddit one, right?
let me look
I
at
can
that
pull it
one.
up. I can pull it up real
Yeah,
quick.
because see, they actually have solo leveling at 3.
Yes, I do.
Deon,
Oh yeah, Soul Leveling's at 3. I see Apothecary. No, Furious Bedroom's 1. Apothecaries are behind it. The Delicious and Dungeons at 4. Gushing Magic Girl's 5, which that's kind of insane. I'll take it. Um, and even
I like this list a lot better as far as this week's ratings go.
yeah, because even Shield, not Shield here, but Shangri La is at 9. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. Like ultimately, the things I would do is simple. Chainsolder's fine.
Why is
I think
Sharon
Chains.
still number one?
Yeah, but Fearon's gonna be there anyway. I'm not. Fearon's one of those ones people like, so I'm not gonna. Can't.
We already know they could be lower, much
They
lower.
could. They could be lower.
Yes.
I think the thing is, like, if you look at the anime corn list, I agree with them. Gushing Over Magic Girl should be higher. It's at 15 on the anime or 16 on the anime corner list. I think if you really wanted my like honest opinion, I think Chain Soldier would be higher, but it's not even higher. It's not high. It's not really high on this list from the the one you sent us, Chris. Mash is at where I should be. I think Mash should be 11. That's fair for Mash because I think that last episode of Mash wasn't great.
Man
Um,
should not be higher than wrong way to use healing magic.
no,
No.
but I'm still gonna say this. I have to look at the rest of this. Like Witch and Beast is at 27.
Mhm.
Uh, you have Metallic Rogue is at 35, which is gonna end the year. Actually, it ends the year higher than Butchigiri at 40, which is not the present. Which is kind of not the present. Probably should have.
No,
But I
no.
agree with you, Deon. I think Butchigiri's gotten better, but I don't think it's gotten better enough for people to continue liking that. I know Chris
Oh
said
yeah,
it's
no. It's not going to replace anything on the charts. I
Chris.
just think as a for what it is, it does better at doing what it does than MASH does.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
And
Agreed.
for MASH to be so high on this list, I would say if that's what we're aiming for, then Bushigiri should be higher on the list.
and I think,
Oh.
and Chris doesn't believe that. Well, actually, wait, Chris might believe that.
Heck yeah, I believe that.
Okay, that's fair enough. There. I ultimately, I think it comes down to this. Like you just said, Deanna, when we were kind of just talking back and forth, you mentioned the fact this is a fan-based list, which is fine. The one that Chris sent us seems like a watch-based list, right, Chris?
Yes.
Which
Mm.
we've talked about this multiple times. I wish there was a combining of the two, because ultimately, if you combine the two, the top tens would probably be pretty close in terms of a couple things might be pulled out. Like I think classically being at seven, that's fair for it because it's kind of gone up and down a little bit. And the last thing they did for Classroom Elite was interesting. Delicious Dungeon, where it's at. I think the only one I would have to fight was Gushing Over Magic Girls because Gushing Over Magic Girls is one of those ones where ultimately you have to be able to understand what they're trying to do. And ultimately, the other thing was they ended the show on a weird cliffhanger that I don't think if they do a season two,
So,
which yeah,
so where would you put Metallic Rouge, Brandon? It's the only one
probably
I haven't heard you say.
if I had to legitimately take it between both lists, it would probably be like 12, 13.
That's fair.
Mm,
I think it's
okay.
behind like a Shangri-La, Wrong With You's Healing Magic, that area. I think it isn't as bad as it's shown out to be, only because I think it's one of those ones that was a 25th anniversary thing they were doing for Studio Bones did, and not many people really cared, not people really cared. But yet, it's odd because I think it's one of those ones that should have more traction, and I think that's
Especially
gonna be
with the
the
soundtrack.
yeah. The soundtrack's amazing. The characterization, the English dub is pretty good, really good. I think with this spring list, we're gonna see something really quickly. With those four shows we got yesterday, and we're getting more by the end of the week, you ain't gonna have an easy time trying to pick what a top 10 will be for Anime Corner or even for what the list Chris gave us. It's gonna be impossible.
You guys want to create our own top 10 list
Yes.
We can do that. It'll be fun.
and then compare it to the charts? Now
Yeah,
that
we can do that.
our season after this episode, after this particular episode, our season will be
Mm-hmm.
at an
We
end.
start, and we getting ready to start a new season.
New
We're
season,
getting ready
yeah,
to start a new season. So you guys want to create our own top 10 list and
yeah.
then compare it to
We'll do that for next week. We each create
theirs.
one and see where we end up. Yeah, that'd be actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Just because
Oh my God! Did we just make a plot point for our season 3?
Uh-oh.
Yep, we did. Absolutely, we did. Speaking of that, by the way, thank you for reminding me. I had to think about that. So we are going to do the thing I said. We are going to do wrong way to use heal or not wrong way. Reincarnated slime, and we will do kaiju number 8 because that's going to be the first two that come out right in the sooner in the immediate future. I think those are the best two to do. We will still talk about No Game or God's Game We Play. We'll still talk about Monster. I'll probably still talk about Spice and Wolf because it's new to me and I'm going to see how this story plays out. It's from older stuff. I think what we're going to do those two, but we'll have a little segment where we talk about other things we're watching, kind of what we think about those shows, and kind of think maybe give you a perspective like, what do you think? Should you go watch this right now? Should you wait till it gets halfway through? Kind of stuff like that. And then, like they mentioned, we'll do a top 10 list for this past season. I think we'll continue doing that for next couple seasons beyond. I want to do it for spring 2024. That's going to be interesting when I try to do top 10 lists after the fact everything's going to come out. I think the thing is that I think we've noticed through doing these charts and just looking at this chart and the chart Chris sent us is that there's there's a lot of bias, but not in a bad way. I mean, it's character bias. It's your favorite genre. You're gonna champion the show to which I did from Metallic Rogue, and I'll admit that I did to the end of this chart. But at the same time, can also understand that other things are out there and they are good too. I
Yeah, but
can't
you
be.
championed it and then still put it at like 13. So, you
So
know,
that says a lot about what you. It says a lot about you love the show, but you realize there were shows that were better.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I think it's hard for people to do because you get so used to
It's
focus
hard
on
for
one.
people to do because they would require them to swallow their pride. But again, that's a whole
Wow.
nother
Wow.
can of worms.
I love the fact
yeah.
that you've done that twice tonight, and it's not a bad thing. I
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
oh,
You've done
I
that
am.
twice.
No bars over here.
And I think Deon did it. Deon's done it a couple times this season, so I'm actually glad that I'm the only one that hasn't done that. I'm not at all, but at the same time, I love that we do it because that tells me, y'all, they
That's what
understand
you have us
where
for.
that's where they understand the fan more the fan base side of things. I'm just kind of like I'm just there to be the kind of like good-hearted, trying to give everything a chance. Ultimately, um,
But you keep us grounded from going on our rants and tantrums.
yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do that.
me and Deon can definitely get on one, and yeah.
Oh yeah, especially with Mash this entire season. You
Speaking of Mash, let's get to this last episode because at the end of this episode, I'm gonna say something I probably gonna I'm not gonna regret saying, but I think it's gonna need to be said. And I think the thing is, I think with this episode, I think it leaves us off in a weird space where I don't know where they could take it. Because Dion's point kind of can become valid last week, and Chris brought the point when we watched it that kind of becomes valid. But we'll get into it. I get up episode 24 of Magic and Muscles, and we'll finish this right out for this show. For now, anyway.
Oh
So it's
god.
so in a second I will say three, two, one, and then we'll get going. And gentlemen, you ready?
You have you have to give
Yeah.
this slow Xbox user a second.
No worries, take your time. I know you're still learning. He's normally a PlayStation guy. This is his first foray into the Xbox
He
platform.
switched over to the dark side.
Which ultimately, I will have to say, comparatively, I don't know. I don't. I've used PlayStation controls in the past for like three. I know the PS2 era stuff controls. PS3 and higher,
So,
I don't really like them that much.
There's so
so
many options. Like, why are there so
Brandon,
many buttons to press?
we're definitely going to start the show after my comment, but to everybody that's thinking about buying the new iPhone 16, ah, ah, ah.
Don't basically.
If you've seen the
Wait,
videos of it, it looks just like Samsung. It looks just like
Yeah,
a Samsung.
which I can believe because Samsung's one of the best, like not best, but I think it's one of the better user-friendly
Like
phones.
Randy, you know
they
how our
use
phone
the
has it had
same
the
parts.
Yeah,
yes,
they do.
and I think that's why they had no choice but to change over to that style.
It's just the
Absolutely.
interfaces that's different.
Like Brandon, have you seen the new iPhone?
In pictures, I've seen pictures, but I haven't deep dived
Br-
into it.
No, it's literally the same phone inside and out, just with
Yeah,
backwards parts. Like
yeah.
they said it's no better than the Samsung A32, and I started laughing.
That's a bad comparison. Sorry,
I
this is
was
one of
like,
our
wow.
this is one of our tangents we're going while we wait till Deon gets everything figured out. But the point stands where, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of PlayStation. I think the stuff is amazing, looks amazing. Menus are kind of weird to navigate, but ultimately I could do it. It just take time. It would take
Well, we're not talking about
That's
PlayStation. PlayStation is awesome.
yes, PlayStation is amazing.
time.
Xbox is weird and has a lot of buttons and
Well,
configurations that I can't get used
hold
to.
on.
But
I could say the same thing about
it's not
PlayStation
without
though.
its perks.
And
Exactly.
that's what I
PlayStation
miss.
is user friendly. Like how do you say about your Samsungs and your Galaxies and the
Yeah, like I
stars
said
and
about my
stripes and
Xbox,
all of that?
is actually user friendly. You're just new to it.
There's a lot of see, that's the thing. User friendly means even if I'm new to it, I should be able to use it.
but but
And
here's the
I'm not
thing.
computer illiterate. I built these things.
But
But
here's the thing.
it's
But it's funny. It's
So if I
also
told
the
you it works like it works, I'm sorry, Brandon, but if I told you it works like Windows,
that's the comparison.
sorry, I use Mac.
That's the problem. That's the
I'm
comparison I was
done.
going to bring
I'm
out.
done.
Windows
I'm
to
done.
Mac.
I rest my
Windows
case.
Windows
I
to
rest
Mac. They have no
my
comparison.
case.
We're not getting to
I
this.
use
We're
Mac.
not getting to
I'm
this.
sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm a
We're
conformative. I use Mac and iPhone and
we're good.
yeah,
while we're
everything's
on it,
plugged into each other. So
while we were on that little tangent, I hope you got the episode up. I'm about to say three,
yeah,
2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
yes
Let's go.
sir.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Mash and his good friends. Tying back to something else we saw earlier. By the way, it took them forever to find the caster, which is kind of funny. It took them till now to find the caster, and Mash already beat the thing that was trying to kill, almost hurt students. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Like, bro, I can't even understand how to get my sound to come through my headphones. I have to go through different settings.
We
PlayStation, I
already
can just plug
established.
it in. I
We've
can
already
just plug.
established
It's
that your
plugged in.
headphones for your Xbox are trash. So
They're bad.
It's
I know
plugged in, bro.
Xbox got better with that finally. They did. They got better with that ultimately. It took them a while.
yeah, because everybody knows that it's like the best headphones for Xbox have the controls on the headphones.
Uh-huh.
I have the controls. I thought
By the way, this
these
is
are
the
Turtle
last time.
Beaches.
By the way, this is the last time we'll hear this song for a while. I'll put it that way.
I'm glad because I'm starting to get worn out of it.
I think
I still. This is the only saving grace about watching this show.
I have to agree with Deon. It's probably one of the few saving grace for a lot of people because the song is so banging. If the song wasn't banging, the show would probably not do as well. But the show,
Yeah, and I'm
but
usually an intro skipper. Once I watch it like once or twice, and then I'll skip it.
we skip.
This
Me and
is
Deon,
one
me and
that
Chris skipped them for. Did we skip for so long? We did because we've already watched it. We watched it now, so
We
we'll
were
skip it.
skipping them for reincarnated as a slime.
Slime. I think I listed the one, and it was the one that for the newest season, for the preseason we just finished.
yeah first episode of each season I always watch. Except for One Piece. I usually
Of
watch all
course,
of my One Piece ones because they'll change
they'll change mid-season.
like every 10 episodes or something like that. They'll change it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys hear an echo?
Nope,
Just
you're good.
okay, because
Oh, you might have heard my parents where my room sits. You
no,
probably
I
like
just
you.
want to make sure because my headphones aren't working.
Oh no, you're good.
So I just want to make sure you couldn't hear.
When I see you, I'm gonna give you a good pair of Xbox headphones. A good pair.
I'm gonna say this right
Yeah,
now. This scene's redundant.
But the show is redundant, but we're
Well,
watching
okay,
it. So
but this particular is redundant because we see something later that kind of counteracts what this is talking about.
yes, absolutely. Even the last part of the last show, the last episode, it was like, well, what was that even for? And when we get to that, I'll bring it up again.
Mhm.
But I'm sure you already know what I'm talking about, B man.
I do. You've never been to a beach. Oh well, they'll go take us to a school where it's in the middle of a Slayer
slaughter melon.
melon. Yeah, that's kind of bad. It matches with a headbutt to it.
And I asked this one the first time I watched it. Why would you want to eat something that was sucking of your blood? Like, come on now.
You wouldn't. Well, wait, never mind. We don't.
Yeah, I was
I'm
about to say,
saying
think about that. Think
we don't
about that.
we don't technically. We have nothing close to that in the real world. Leeches, but leeches we don't eat. We just, they're leeches. By the way, you should be in a hospital right now. Yeah.
Man, honestly, he should be in a coffin, but we're not gonna go there.
No, no, we're not. But there's no way you should be sitting on a beach chair, sipping out of a coconut. Like, no, you're not physically able. Your last vision in your right eye, you can barely. Your body's pretty much bandaged up all over the place.
Maybe it's just because season two has given me a disdain for the show, but I do not like the way he says "mash burned." Like you're taking the longest time to say three syllables. Is like maybe that's just me.
Yeah. And like I said before, there's our plot for season 5. The Five Brothers. Or season 3. Sorry, I said season 5. Season 3.
Well, season 2, we were supposed to go after the other boss heads, but we never did.
They're gonna tease some of the stuff out again for longer. Wait, how's that math? How does that math work out? That math doesn't work out. Okay. All right. That, that math makes no sense.
See, I need friends like that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, but at the same time, I think that's over optimism at times when you're like, uh,
Well, no, at least my friends they'll come and tell me like, Chris, you being stupid.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully, there.
Yep.
One failed exam and he's permanently expelled. What's the consult to do with exams? Nothing.
There's a name Lance. That's the only guy I actually appreciate in this entire show, and he's a cystophile.
Oh, he's about to get a big part here. He gets the biggest part. He gets the biggest part here. This part of the show, because he finally wishes mash into shape.
This kindness. For a blind person like me, this is why I appreciate English.
Yeah,
because I just read that all wrong the first time I watched it.
yeah.
He said, "What does kindness have to do with an exam?" I don't know why I read that backwards.
Why would you purposely bite your tongue?
Did he purposely do it? Or did he do it accidentally? Because he looked like he did it accidentally.
I think it's a play on that word, like bite your tongue to basically don't say what you're thinking.
Thing I don't think what you're thinking. They've also heard it said like hold your tongue instead of bite.
Yeah.
Hold your tongue. I heard explosions. I think it's a pretty nice after ride.
Oh. I dozed off here the first time I watched this.
This did get kind of boring, but I get what they were trying to prove. Like he hates studying, but then it just kind of devolves a little bit for a bit. Which is true.
Amen to that, brother.
That part.
Can't teach someone who isn't willing to learn. Amen to that.
And Deon, you're gonna probably don't like this part because Finn gets back in the plot for a bit. It takes.
I mean, it makes sense here because they're
It
in
does.
school. He's the roommate. He's supposed to be the smart kid. Like it makes sense here. It doesn't make sense at a divine, like top of the class event.
Nope. It does not.
Like even in Harry Potter, we never see Ron play Quidditch. Like
No.
it's not your thing, bro.
Yeah, you do see him play Quidditch.
Oh wait, he does play once. That's right. They
Yeah,
do. He does play once.
Like in one of the last 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah, he does play because he plays on the other team, right, for a little bit.
No, he takes his brother's place.
Oh yeah, that's right.
oh yeah. That one play he made because his brother
Hey
got
man,
hurt.
hey, you said what you said. I said what I said.
But that was still his brother. Like, why is like I don't know.
Have you forgotten who Finn's brother is?
Yeah, Divine Visionary, who
I'm
was
done.
not
But
even
not
there. Who was not even there.
yeah, but neither was his brother went to the
He
same
could have been
school.
on the sidelines with his brother. Him and his
Yep.
brother could have been cheering on Mash like his girlfriend was. And
Does
Lance
it
and
get
Dot
brain
could
block
have been on
here?
his team.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Sorry. There's no reason to gripe over this.
Not at all. That's why I just got quiet. Like this show is not that important enough to keep a argument
Not
over.
at all. I'm glad we can agree on that.
Absolutely.
With her Professor McGonagall looking.
Why does she say his name differently?
She says it slower. She says Mashle Bond.
But like the way the old man says it, like you were saying, Chris, how he says it all extra slow and stuff.
Yes. It's
Like
annoying.
she gives him a whole different name.
Don't get cocky. This is the other thing I didn't like. Why does he come back in this plot? What's the?
I think they did. They needed something random. They
But
needed
it's
something
also
random
funny.
to make sense.
Lance even says about the newspaper thing we saw in the beginning, which makes no sense now because wait, that's been a couple days.
Well, at least this is my one favorite part in the whole show.
Oh, this is actually really good. I have to give him credit for this one. This one was actually well done. Well done.
Are
They
we
give
at the same
character.
spot? I think you guys are.
I think you're like a few seconds behind me, Deon.
Okay. She's already yelling off the balcony.
Yep.
They gave her this part because I think she deserved it. She's the one who actually cared for Mash the most.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very Hermione moment.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, you're right. I think about that for a second. Hermione did this a couple different times to
With
help
all
Harry
the
out.
different speeches and heroic
Yeah.
and yeah.
Getting angry and setting people straight.
And then she kind of goes crazy a little bit right there.
Wow.
Also noise up the nameless characters. Here's the thing. He does that. I'm like, why did they bleep it out? But I forgot they bleeped it out prior to the season. So you know, like,
No, they didn't in the season one. They had it. They showed it.
no, but season two, did they do it earlier this season where they showed him doing something
Yeah.
similar, but they bleeped it
Yeah.
out because it was like we
Yeah.
can't really show that. It was like, yeah, don't go out there.
It's over centering. We all know what it is. You might as well just let it go.
I'm gonna ask you this one more time, Deon, Brandon. Is Mash a black
Uh-oh.
guy?
I think you asked the question all through the season. At this point, I don't even know, and at this point, probably yes. I don't know
I
I'm gonna
what
mean,
say
his hair
no.
did. I don't know, man. His hair got curly when he that smoke blew up in
The
his face.
afro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I called it out. That's an afro. I called that out when I saw it.
The only reason why I say no, I think he's mixed.
Yeah, that actually be more probably
Okay,
possible.
but if he mixed with black in America, we call him what?
Mulatto. No.
I mean, yeah, he's
No,
like,
it depends on where he's raised. Cause look at Mariah Carey.
and Mash
Nah,
catch it out
he's
of like a baseball
definitely.
pit, like a catcher. Jeez, that catch.
I only don't want him to be 100% black because he acts so dense at times.
Yeah, but
But
I
then he
know a lot
does
of our
stuff like
people that's like that.
this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then he does stuff like this. And then it's like, I see the Afrocentric in him.
Yep.
Okay, this is where it gets kind of stupid because
Well, this is a question why I think he's black. He might be like 60-40 something, but that's 60% black.
but by the way, stop mentioning the thing is 15 centimeters. Yeah, you're seeing a guy. Yeah, there you go. You mentioned twice. And just speaks up. All right.
This right here.
And by the way, why is the song going so hard in the oh, get out. Like, come on now.
Like I always thought that was Nicki Minaj for a minute.
Yeah, that's why I kind of thought I was like somebody really went soft kind of hard there.
If they do season 3, the background's gonna be Megan Thee Stallion. Watch.
What is this? She-Hulk?
Do we? No, I don't know if I want. Okay, never mind. I
So now, does he become a divine visionary just because of that? Because now you're in
You
trouble
know,
yourself, headmaster.
this is where your thing come into play at the end because I think they could do it two ways. They could have him become a Vine Visionary just to prove that he can be ahead of this magic world and he's different, and that difference
Yeah.
makes everybody different as well. But ultimately, I think the thing they're going to do is something so totally entirely different. And I'll explain when we do the review.
Well, based off of this episode and the last episode, what I think they're going to do is they're going to, I have to say this with a light heart, change the heart and will of the people and then make him not need to be a divine visionary in the first place. They're gonna be,
Here's
oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter that you don't have magic anymore. You're mash.
we'll get into that because I partially agree. But we'll get into the review because I think there's two things that kind of throws that out the window. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 24 of MASH. This was kind of serious, but ultimately this is so weird. So weird, nonetheless. Um, this episode starts out kind of pretty much innocuous. It left off where we started from the last episode, pretty much. Uh, Everybody's kind of just hanging out. They're kind of after the whole battle thing. They make sure they're kind of just talking to each other. They're about to head out into a little vacation, get some R&R because after everything that's happened, they kind of were like, we need send me about the break. So they go to a beach. This beach, they were just gonna hang out, play. One of the things Dot gets a watermelon that has a bunch of squid tentacles, things that suck your blood as you also try to eat the watermelon. Well, Mash gets the watermelon on top of his head, gets sucked on him. It sucks on his like neck and things, but Mash just breaks it with a headbutt. Cool. Um, I the only other beginning part of this is where at the very beginning we see them find the caster cast the magic. Also, we see a couple things talking about the newspaper where Mash beat the thing, and the townspeople aren't too happy about that. After the beach scene, we see the headmaster, who's all bandaged up and really can't do much. But they're all like, "Why are you there? You should be in a hospital. You're not well." As he's drinking this coconut. And next thing you know, he's coughing blood. Okay. He mentions that next match we've learned about that In Zero has this power for time, space, and future things. But also, there's five brothers that are really proud of themselves, and the five brothers are going to be kind of coming down the pipe as well. And we need to get to that whole situation. But ultimately, the other big thing that he mentions is no matter what happens, Mash has to do it, and Mash is going to be the one to do it. And all his friends are like, "What chance he's have? If he even Lemon says, what chance he's have going to get in zero? He could ultimately win or lose." And Mash finally says, "If I win or lose, no matter what happens, I'm gonna do what I have to do. It's going to be a 50% chance, 50% chance I win, 50% I lose, but ultimately I use my muscles to do it, and I'm going to win 100% of the time." And everybody's kind of looking like, that's kind of weird, but okay. And they kind of believe him. But then I'm going to stop right there. The I'll start right there. The last thing we do see is his uncle and the cat and the for the second, the uncle and the guy from the cops talking and said the uncle says Mash has a kind heart. He'll get through anything. And then the cop guy's like, how's a kind heart deal with exams? And that's where we'll catch up on this part. So I'll start with Chris for this. Chris, what do you think about this first part? Because this first part kind of gives a little information, but kind of doesn't give us a lot of information.
Uh, this first part was so slow. And it was like, why is it necessary? But I digress. I mean, for what it was an intro. I'll give it that. That's the really better all I can say. Like, okay, you gave us some moments to try to give us a bit of story, but at the end of the day, I felt like it was like trying to sprinkle salt on like a steak or under seasoned steak.
Yeah.
So
Deon, what do you think about this first part up until we get to see Lemon and then about to help Mash with the exams?
Like Chris said, it was extremely slow. You gave us this entire part just to tell us there's gonna be a season 3.
That's basically what this kind of boils down to. This
You did
spoils,
all of this to say in season 3 you're gonna have to fight 5 brothers.
and and here's the thing, and Chris mentioned it earlier when we were watching it. They mentioned the five brothers, but like they said in season, like Chris said in season two, Chris, you mentioned the fact season two, our whole goal was to do this and something else instead. We haven't done that in season two, so they just dragging things out now. But like this is kind of insane. Um,
This is all playing out like they didn't expect season 1 to do so well, so they rushed to do season 2 and now they're in over their heads.
yeah, but also it's like we're gonna do the five brothers plot next season. I think there's also another problem because that's just the latest match becoming the divine visionary. We'll get into that because there's also a thing I think your whole thing is true, Deon. But let's get into this exam part because this exam part's long and kind of just not necessary. So Lim and them try to help Mash with exams because he needs to pass or he can be expelled. If he gets expelled, he can't become a visionary, all that other stuff. So Dot and them try to help, and Mash asks why Dot's helping because he thinks Dot wasn't smart, and then Dot goes through this long diatribe that explains why he's good at this, that, and other. Mash gets overwhelmed, but then they finally start helping him. Lance starts off and he starts writing stuff down. Mash gets overloaded. Once Mash gets overloaded, you hear like explosion happen. His head kind of turns like a little bomb, like red orange bomb color, and then his hair kind of goes to like the afro looking thing. Um, and then Mash is still kind of working on books and things. As he's working on the books, his other characters, Finn, Lance, Dot, Lemon, are all just watching him, staring him down. And Mash pretty much can't take it anymore. He jumps out the window. He kind of runs off, and Lemon pretty much, or Lance pretty much says, "If you don't want, I don't want to teach somebody who don't want to be taught." And Finn's like, "But he's still trying. He has to, he has a lot on his plate." And Lance's like, "I don't really care if you don't want to try to get through this. That's your problem." Finn goes after Mash. He finds Mash kind of like a Dutrio or not Dutrio, um, kind of like a Diglett from Pokemon, just had his whole body buried in the ground with his head sticking out. He kind of tells Mash, "Hey, I want to graduate with you. I want to help you as much as I can. I want to use together with you." And Mash's like, "Okay." So he gets back out. All these little mole things are around his body, and he finally hunkers down, finishes out, studying and everything. Exam day come, and when exam day come, he does pretty well. He has a little brain lock for a bit. Ultimately, they're sitting around him at the end of this, and he is worried about everything that's going on. The teacher calls him up, and she says, You're okay, but not great. But ultimately, you passed." And he's like, "I passed? Okay, cool." And then as it's happening, they're like, "Don't get cocky," and they start, like, I think Dot and Lance start kicking him. And then right after that, we get one of the characters we saw prior in season one come out and say something to them about what's about to happen next. So we'll stop there because in the back half, this is everything else from this point. Dion, what do you think about this middle part with the whole study exam thing? Because I kind of thought this was also kind of like non really worth it, but I digress.
Yeah, the only thing this middle part did for me was solidify that Lance is the most sane, non-divine visionary person in this show. And he's a creep. So
I mean, he does have the sister complex thing. So yeah, yeah, ultimately,
yeah,
ultimately.
what does that say about these characters in this show? Oh yeah, it like again another complete half of Mash, unnecessary. Like I get what they're trying to do. Do it better, please. That's oh
Oh,
god.
okay, Chris, go ahead. But I think you're going to agree with Dion for this mostly.
The only notable thing about this entire middle section is the fact that Lance says you can't teach nobody that don't want to be taught.
That's the point, and that's the main point,
You
which is
can lead
kind
a
of sad.
horse to water. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Can't make them drink. Yeah.
Which is
And
kind of
Mash
sad.
was pretty thirsty.
That's the only thing you get out of this because that's the only thing that makes much sense until Mash comes back and gets help. It's weird. It is weird, but I digress.
Like why have them do all this extra stuff just to have him run out the window then? He should have ran in the first place when he figured out he had to do all this, and then it would have made way more sense.
But
Like
the ultimate thing when people will say you have friends behind you who want to try to help you, but you yourself aren't really into doing the studying, then that's why he got pushed. He got pushed by his friends like just hunker down, and nobody can hunker down, just study like that. That's not the way people do
it
that.
was it was completely redundant. Yeah, we know you're
Yeah,
not smart, so we're gonna push you to do it, and then we push you to do it, and you run, and then you tell us you're not smart, even though we just told you we know you're not smart. So now we got to push you to do it again. So now we got to repeat this entire section of show that we just went through all over again, just to
yeah.
reiterate the fact that we know you're not smart.
So this next part here is kind of weird. I don't like the fact that they use. I like the fact they use this character. It's the first time we've seen this character in a while. This is the character that can mainly just talk in bamboo, and basically Lance translates for us for most of this, which is kind of funny. Lance mentions the newspaper thing that they saw Mash do what he did, and the town people are happy. And now that the town people are heading this way to take Mash and imprison him, basically, that's what they're kind of getting at. Everybody's watching from outside. Then Lemon walks out on the balcony and pretty much goes in this speech, basically, Mash is my friend. Why are you gonna treat somebody who doesn't like he's done so much for this, for the people around us, we're his friends. And she has this really sweet speech. And then she kinda gets the googly eyes, kind of like spiral eyes. She can't, but at the same time, he's my wife. I'm his wife. And then she kind of goes totally nonsensical after that. And she goes, I'm his wife and I care about him. And the crowd's like, what does this have to do? What does this have to do with anything? Like, what is this? What does this have to do with anything? Okay. Crowd kind of doesn't like it. Then Dot tries to come out there and save this, but Dot can't save it. Dot goes, I have a statement from Ash, basically just saying, oh screw all y'all, and he just kind of throws up burn at them all. I'm like, okay, all right, it's getting worse. And then they kind of go like animalistic for a bit. The animalistic part doesn't really make much sense because they just kind of like kiss and grab them. Mash want to go out there, but like Deon said, Lance is the most sane. He goes, nope, don't go out there yet. Let them take the brunt of that because if you go out there, they're just gonna pummel it on top of you. Um, So then Lemon tries to pour her heart some more. Eventually, one of the people in the crowd throw a rock at Lemon. Mash gets it, blocks it, blocks all these rocks being thrown out at him. One of the guys in the crowd, who's kind of this like creepy mage dude, that builds this prism, and this prism is supposed to keep large animals in it. Now, this was kind of nonsensical. He says this line: "It's 15 centimeters walls. It's made to cage large animals." Mash starts pokes a hole through one of the things, pokes a hole through another, and he repeats this line about 4 times as Mash is about to break the door, break it open to get out. And finally, when Mash breaks out of it, he kicks the door out of it. Then it's just a hole, and then the whole rest of the structure. this was also kind of I don't really get. Mash picked this whole thing up. It was like steel or metal. Picks it up, throws it halfway in the air, and literally the crowd parts like the Red Sea, and it falls right on top of the dude. And the door fumbles through to close it in. And it was like, wait, what? How does that even make sense? And after this, Baisley Mash kind of stands there, doesn't really say anything until the headmaster comes up. The headmaster goes, we apologize for everything. Bear with us. This will be figured out in due time, but don't worry about a thing. We're working things out." And basically tells Mash, "Hey, not everybody's gonna like you, not everybody's gonna appreciate what you do, but at the same time, you have good friends behind you, and your good friends are gonna help you get through this." By the way, while all this is playing out, this scene here and the scene prior, we have this really epic rap song playing. It's like I think it's one we've heard the song before, but we hear it like in full now, and it's just like, why is there a rap song playing between all of this? But it's fine. I digress. Mass said he's gonna become a divine visionary so he can prove people wrong and prove what he has done isn't in vain. And at the same time, gonna gonna have people change their hearts. And that was the end of the episode. I'm gonna start with Chris for this. Chris, what do you think about this back half? Because this back half kind of got interesting, but also kind of got weird at points too.
Yo, the only notable thing was him literally using his finger to punch through 15 centimeters of steel that even monsters have a hard time getting through, but he somehow made it through, tossed it at the guy, and then slammed the shit in his face. Now, to me, that qualifies Mash as being a bad guy, but I'm only another black guy.
like that's the only scene that makes everything feel. That's the only scene that's kind of sad to me because the guy that does the whole prison thing repeats that line 5 times and it ends up just going nuts because how is Mash doing this? Ladies and gentlemen, the man blocked about 15, 30, 15, 20 rocks a minute ago. Do you not do what the man just did with rocks? I'm not surprised the man can break steel, but I get your point. But you don't have to say it 5 times. Um, Deon, what do you think about this back half?
I just have a question, honestly.
Go ahead.
Who is this reporter? Like, how are they getting the word out about stuff so fast in this season? Like, what's going on with these owls, man? Like,
So that's the thing I'm kind of wondering because now that's where the contradiction kind of comes in. This reminds me, I think it's the first Harry Potter movie when we friend like Harry's one of like the prodigies. He's in that newspaper after he gets the book signed by that dude. Or the wand. Was it the
yeah,
book or the wand? He gets signed by the dude at the
it was the
bookstore.
book.
It was the book,
Yeah,
correct.
he
So
gave him a
then
copy of his book and signed it for him.
correct. So he's in the paper, and and then Harry gets in the paper a couple more times for what he's done throughout the history. The I think when they had the game when they won that, and a couple other things. And I get what it's saying that the people found out through the paper and now, but they're kind of angry knowing the fact that he's not a magic person. He can't use magic, and now he's got to be purged. Here's my contradiction to this whole thing. I think in the early in season 2, they say if the people find out, they're gonna not be happy. So we're gonna keep it on the down low.
Right.
Ultimately, you didn't really keep it on the down low because ultimately the thing that came out was about him throwing the giant monster that saved all the students, that saved the school, but people are still mad about it. So it kind of feels like it didn't play well with that. But ultimately, I'm like,
Yeah.
uh, I
Like,
get it.
how do you know he can't use magic? The biggest secret
Correct.
in 2 seasons of this show, and all of a sudden the entire world now knows in a matter of 1 minute. Like, I need a little
Yeah.
bit more backstory to that. Like,
And,
even the first time we found out, we at least had the boy in the cave. Like, we
but you had the
had some
student,
play on how they
you had
found
the,
out.
but you had the kid too that was after the whole puppet master thing that he knew, but then that never got played off of because
Yeah.
they let it go. They let it go. Nobody played off it. It was
So
just
how does the
there.
entire world now know, or whoever wrote this newspaper, how do they know he can't? Even if it's like, oh yeah, Mash saved the day from destroying this. How do they know he did not use magic to do it? Even at the end of the episode, you see everybody saying, "Oh yeah, it doesn't matter if
Hey,
you can't use
Deon,
magic." You're
you didn't see
yeah.
it, but they got that seagull from One Piece in there. He threw down all the newspapers and shit.
Yeah,
See, that's why
yeah.
I said, "What's going on with these owls, man?" Like,
Yeah, this bird, there was a bird that threw out all these newspapers on his finger. But then the other thing that contradicts
man,
that too is the Bureau of Security having a press conference after the match did what he did to pretty much tell people, hey, this would happen. We're everything's under control. Don't worry about a thing. So there's two
yeah.
contradictory things there.
Well, here's the thing: the fact that Mash went up against the whatever the evil guy's name is, who gonna stop him?
Innocent Zero.
Yeah, the guy
Nobody.
that doesn't. So who's gonna
Well, he
stop him?
didn't even really go up against them.
He needed him to face.
Exactly.
He needed him
There's
to say it in the
another
face
gripe in
twice.
his entire show.
He needed him to face twice, and that was it.
Like, I don't even know why I'm trying to make sense of that. Like,
Um,
of course they know because it's Smash. Of
but
course
I
they
will.
hate him because it's Smash.
I will say this: I don't disagree with your premise, Dion. I think they will ultimately start season three with him becoming my missionary. I think that's the first thing we see. But there's a huge but in that. I think the other thing is they could ultimately do the thing I think too. Ultimately, I think what they could do is he wins the people over and then goes fight in the zero. And that's how he wins the people
I
over. Is
think
like he
that's what's gonna happen too.
that the second one's more likely, but I don't think that's gonna happen pretty fast either because you also add the five of the brothers that need to be involved in this plot now.
Well, he won over the whole school just from one fight. So you know,
uh, I don't know.
there's
It's just
that.
I think
Poor Harry
Mass.
Potter had to go through 7 movies before he made a friend outside of his core.
I I I think the other thing there's two other problems with this. You said that Mash and the Good Friends, but we've already had an episode called Mash or Finn and Friends, which basically is the reverse where Mash helps Finn. So you got to get their dynamic. You got their dynamic built better. But ultimately, that's not the problem because Finn is kind of a coward and a weakling for the most part.
Yeah. You know what? I think the problem with this episode is the fact that there's not a next episode.
Correct. Correct.
But
Like,
strangely enough, I'm fine with that.
Yes, ultimately, I'm
no,
fine with
I'm okay with there not being a next episode, but it's like the last episode we watched should have been the last episode we watched.
the last
Like
Yes.
episode we
this
watched.
episode was not necessary. This episode
And
is fine for a first episode of another season.
that's
I
where I
could
think
I could
Yes.
they
see
should have
that.
been placed. Should have been placed. They should have started season
But
three, where it was okay. He's having an exam. He's having to, pass the exam to become candidate for visionary. He does that, but ultimately the townspeople find out, okay, he can't use magic. They go out on a tirade.
Honestly,
Yeah,
if this didn't have a season one, I would have not watched it because this second
exactly.
season to me went like Buchigiri.
And we all know how I feel about that. I even feel Buchigiri did better than this season. So
So
but I also think Dion's thing is right, and I don't know if you agree, Chris. Do you think Buchagiri, or do you think that Mass season one was so good they ended up rushing season two, not
well,
knowing that season one was going to be that good?
well, I don't think that they rushed it. I just think that they got tasked with putting it out at the same time as solo leveling.
Yeah, and
See,
I'm gonna ask
but
for
look at
you
how
got two
fast it
stories.
came out after season one, and
less than
we still
six
don't have
months.
an announcement for season
That's what
two.
I'm saying.
Sorry,
Like
I interrupted. My bad, Chris.
Oh no, you're
that's
good.
what. But that was the point that I was making. It was like, why on earth would y'all decide to put both of these shows out at the same time?
Yeah, that's
Money.
ridiculous. And like I said, I know that there's different teams to work on different things, and solo leveling crew probably had nothing to do with the first season of Mash most of the time. And I'll go back and fact check this stuff too. Because I mean, it's all public knowledge, but it can't be that difficult to make two good shows at the same time if you're a good creator.
gonna pour cold water on that because there's yes, there is. Mappa is that example
I think
because
that
Mappa
goes to more taste, though.
that's also true, and Mappa had other issues involved within the studio themselves, but that's
Yeah,
the one that's kind of gonna probably be in people's brains like Mappa didn't do a good job
because
with
they
that.
do put out good stuff at the same time. Look at Chainsaw Man and all that stuff they were putting out at the same time.
But
It,
also with
you
Chainsaw Man,
have,
they expected Chainsaw Man to make them a bunch of money and did not. And it ends up they dropped it and now they're bringing it back almost a year and a half later for the movie.
yeah.
But I
I
digress.
just feel like if you are a good studio, which A1 was on the verge of not being, people are crapping all over A1 a lot of times.
Mhm.
You you can't do this and
No,
still want to contend with people like Mappa. You can't put out a good show that is already being advertised. I'll say that because we don't know how much of reality is behind what they're saying, but advertised as being backed by somebody as big as Crunchyroll, and then that show does good, and then you put out an independent product and that is bad. So what does that say about you as a studio?
That it shows where you put your money at. Because if they got funding for both of these shows, which they did, and if you didn't hire enough people, again, that's still the same money issues. So therefore, you're right. You're saying that like whatever the staff did with their money, I was just say y'all utilize it all in solo leveling, which is done good, but it's almost like you didn't put nearly as much funding as you did from the first season into the second season of MASH.
But that's the other thing too. Where does the money fall off in MASH? Because the animation I don't have a problem with. The character
Storyboard,
designs I don't have a problem with. But where does
storyboard,
it actually fall off? But
storyboard.
the storyboard. So you're telling me that it costs more to write better versus like it's not like it's missing story. The story
I
just sucks.
mean,
well,
that
okay,
was the whole point of the Writers Guild and strike. So
well, I, I tend to agree with both of y'all, and I'm gonna go down a different path with this. And it's funny because we're having discussion because and Deon will test. He's asked this multiple times during the season. Me and Chris loved season one. Me and Chris enjoyed season one. What happened between season one and now? Multiple things. They didn't put their money where their mouth was, but also, I think the big thing about it it's not storyboarding. I think it's storytelling. I think it's the fact that the
Yeah.
storytelling and how you're telling the story doesn't feel right because there's things in places that don't feel like they need to be. And I've said this multiple times throughout this season. We didn't need a bunch of recaps where we had them. We had a bunch of recaps at the beginning of the episodes. It's like we just saw this last week, but you're just
Yeah. You could
rehashing
have
the
gave
same.
me a bird flying through the sky and them just saying there's a school in the middle of the world, like how One Piece does it. Like they
Yeah,
don't recap.
but
When they recap, they get straight to the point, and then they give you the little Jolly Roger, go Roger, da, 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 the whole
yeah,
excerpt that they do
yeah. Yeah.
until each chapter does its own way. But God, that can't cost you that much money to give us a better intro.
But I also think the other thing that kind of doesn't feel like they matches your main character. He's a very I'm not gonna say bland. He's not bland. I mean, that's the main character word, but he's awkward. He's an awkward main character. But what works in that sense, everybody behind him as the supporting cast works out better. Lemon, Dot, Finn, Lance. We saw Bamboo Dude here again.
I
Everybody
gotta
else.
disagree with you on that.
In what
I
sense?
was with you until you said Finn.
Okay, I don't think Finn's a strong main character, supporting character, as in the sense like he's not good as
I'm
for like.
joking. I'm joking. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I get where you're going. I think the only exception with Finn, they shouldn't have dedicated a full episode to Finn with the little training with the when they did one of the trials, and then
You
you get
know
to
what
them.
though? If they do a season three, I think Finn might surprise us because I realize he actually has a very useful skill. He's just not powerful in using it.
You see, I would
Which
agree with
is
that if they show him actually working on it.
Exactly.
ding ding ding.
Don't just give me automatically now he reawakened in solo leveling terms, and now he's super powerful because of the heart of man and the willpower of truth and just nah.
Nah, but I have
Skip
a
that.
feeling they gonna try to do something with him and his brother.
I
Like
think
they gonna merge or
yeah,
combine or something like that.
and I think the other
What
character's
if
gonna be
they
a
were
lot.
two of the same person?
Yep.
Okay,
What
that's
if
fair.
Finn was like his humane side of like kind and love and friendliness? Well, no, because this guy's a coward shed-in who didn't have any friends until Mash showed
Mash.
up and forced
Oh,
him to be. So
minus
I take that back.
But
He was even a coward that tried to get Mash shut up in the beginning. So yeah, I
yeah,
I
but
hate
that's
Finn
still
all the way around, bro.
uh, here's the
I have
thing.
to unjustify my justify.
Get up solo leveling episode 12. We'll get to that in a minute because that's gonna be more deep dive. But I'll end this before I ask the guys for rating. I'll end on this. I think the thing is, I think that it was all around. If this was in a separate season by itself, did you have solo leveling to look have solo leveling in its rear view mirror? I think it would do a lot better. If you would have told me this was in the same time period as, and I'm gonna say this very nicely, Dead Mount Death Play from a couple seasons ago, JJK. If it sits around that stuff, it probably would have got buried, and it ultimately didn't. It didn't during this season because everything else around it was drama, romance stuff, a couple shonens, and then things here and there. But ultimately, I think what I hope from Ash, personally, I hope they take a year, 2 years. Do not bring it back
Take
within by the.
6. Take 7.
But see, I think that's going to be the thing. We'll talk about with Soul Leveling. Soul Leveling is confirmed for season 2 down the road. We're guaranteed that by the end of this year. But also, they are also confirmed that Soul Leveling is getting 6 seasons, which pretty much will finish out the manhwa. Because the manhwa is 8 books. There's going to be 13 books total, I think, after all the books are read,
Yeah, I was
finished
gonna say that's just for now.
for now. So I hope Mash kind of takes a break, gets on the back foot, let Solo Level take the front for a bit, and then you'll be. I think when Mash comes back, they will be in a better place because they don't have to try to do a big
Dead
shift.
it.
But I'm gonna ask for this before going to Solo Leveling episode 12. Deon, what would you give Magic and Muscles episode 24 as a rating, and also what would you give season 2 of Magic and Muscles as a rating?
Episode 24 as a rating. I give it a 0.1. Season 2 as a rating, I give it a 0.5. Um,
Okay, explain.
so I give this episode a 0.1 because 90% of the episode was unnecessary. We didn't even need the entire episode at all. We could have watched this in season 3 and been okay. Um, so I feel like we just wasted a bunch of time watching that episode. The only thing we got out of it was the fact that there will be a season 3. We could have got that with a release date or something. But as a whole of the season, we literally got 2 fights that I cared about, and the main character wasn't in none of them.
Yeah.
In fact, every good fight we had, the main character fights lasted 0.2 seconds. and the rest of the fights he wasn't in. So, I mean, yeah. Honestly, had MASH not had a season 1, season 2 would have been written off. It would have been buried. We wouldn't see it in any charts. It probably would be like 27. It would be Bushigiri. If
Okay.
MASH did not have a season 1, it would be Bushigiri right now.
Okay. Okay.
Talked about, but not really respected
Not really
at all.
expected. Chris, same question to you. Rating for episode 24 of Magic and Muscles and season rating for me.
Okay, so keeping it simple, keeping it straight, not making it too complicated. As an episode, it's gonna get a 1.1. I'm giving it a 1.1 because you had one full scene that I like. And that was the one with him poking the hole through the 15 centimeters of metal that holds monsters, and then he threw the door in his face. That I actually like that scene. The point one comes from the one thing that Lance said in the middle part. So yeah, that's the point. The point
Yeah.
one. Yep, I give it that.
Okay.
As a season now, I feel like they were off to a decent start, and it just went to hell after. So, and I mean there were a couple of fights that I liked, and like I'm not sure, like probably the ones that Deon didn't mention was the one where he fought against the music guy, which was a pretty decent fight, but it was still covered in
You
stupidness the
like
entire
that
time.
fight?
I never said I liked it. I just said it was decent.
He won with a no, yeah. Okay.
He was decent. Therefore,
Yeah.
I am giving this season a 2.
I like the
Okay.
music guys fight against the Divine Visionary where he actually held back versus his fight with Mash where he went full out and it didn't seem like he was as tough as he was when he fought the Divine Visionary. It was weird. But
I
Do you
not to
okay.
think?
take anything from what you said, Chris, because you're absolutely right. It was a decent fight for this season.
I have to give this okay first for the episode. I'm around y'all 1.5 just because I don't I okay. I like the fact we're getting serious. I do, but also it feels like they left a lot of plot holes in this. In
Too
sense
little,
like
too late.
you left plot holes that are not gonna make sense if you do a season 3, or you're gonna have to fix the plot holes. Because how does the whole town know about his magic now? How does how did that happen? And how do you have the press conference at the beginning of the episode where you're telling everything's okay? Those things don't make sense to me. I do appreciate Lance saying, "Hey, if you somebody doesn't want to be taught, I'm not gonna teach them." You know, that's true to life, pretty much for the most part. Um, Outside of that, I think Lemon's thing was interesting, but she kind of got kind of crazy at the end of it, but it worked. As a season, this gets like a 2. I agree with
Mhm.
Chris. The first part of this season worked very well. Once we get to the middle part of the season, yeah, it kind of got kind of weird, kind of out there.
I love it though.
I'll give you two answers I enjoyed. The when we had the Divine Visionary and Mash fight, not the when they actually don't fight hand in hand, but when he does the whole like Simon Says thing. If you look one way, if I point one way, don't look that way. That whole thing was
Yeah,
interesting. Outside the fact the way he lost,
that was the best fight of the whole show.
which makes no sense because the way he lost was kind of stupid, kind of silly. I think the Market fight with Mash is fun up until you do the tartar sauce thing. That's a fun fight. After those points, the story kind of got convoluted. Mash did some things you didn't expect. Like he got in Zero's face and did nothing with it. Just kind of was there. I don't know. If we get a season 3, I think the thing you have to do is make it. If you're gonna keep it silly, keep it silly. Don't force it to be something serious. But you have to have serious plot to make this make sense. If we're going after
But
the
can I
Fight
say
Club,
something to that?
go ahead.
The very first episode was the most serious episode we had in this entire season.
Yes, it was. Actually, you're right. Technically, you're right.
And I want to ask you guys a question because this is one of my biggest gripes. the first episode and now the last episode, do they line up to you guys?
Hell no.
No, absolutely not.
And that's one of my biggest gripes. You give us
Because
this super serious, major, like plot turning episode as our first episode, and then it makes no sense throughout the entire show anymore.
well,
And
absolutely, yeah, I
it's
know. It's a thing where I think they were trying to have a through line, like you have a through line in most shows where you have the first episode and the last episode are going to connect. Everything in the middle is going to get you to that point. Well, the journey didn't fit the destination. The journey wasn't enjoyable. The destination was kind of even more poor. So it didn't really work out that way they wanted. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. We might be off base, but based on last week's chart, based on the entire chart we looked at earlier in the show, that kind of told people it dropped out of people's minds because it got too serious. But we'll figure it out. But now let's get into Soul Leveling episode 12. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is gonna be insane. Like I said, I wrote almost 2 pages of notes for this episode, and it was just kind of that's because it was so good.
oh god. I hope we
And it's
didn't take up
mostly
too much time on that other show.
no, you're fine. It's mainly back half stuff. This is not nothing in the forward half, mostly back half stuff. Um, but in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
Yes,
Let's do
sir.
it.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Episode 12 of Soul Leveling. Arise.
And we jump right back into him getting his butt whooped.
By a bunch of armored knights. Yep, you can't.
I
He lost the teleport zone.
love
He's trying to find it.
the difference in tone that this show has from MASH.
Oh, absolutely. I can't use stealth. I can't use murderous intent. I have no magic, no health. I have to survive. By the way, if you're this tired, how are you still moving? It's like this is like your third wind.
Hey, he's moving like those guys from Ninja Kurama too.
Yes, they are. Yes, they is. Like you can see his hand. Like they show his hand going in and out of consciousness. He can barely. He starts hearing voices.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah, he hit that hammer right to his ankles. Pretty much. And I love the fact the system's taunting him.
And it's the same creepy smile from the statue.
Yep. And we roll right into the intro.
So, question: do you guys think that's the system, or do you think that's Genu's subconsciousness?
I think that's the system utilizing his subconscious against them.
Correct. I
Oh,
think it's
okay, good answer.
it's a mix. It's a mix of both. It's the system trying to play with subconscious mind.
Because the system needs him to break out of his shell.
Yeah.
Giving yourself the best shot. Any Palex. I used to love hearing that come across my show. Any Palex. Like, this is gonna be good.
Hey, yep.
No.
But you can tell a difference really quickly. And Deon, I think Deon brought up when we talked about Mash, but you can tell a difference really quickly. Do you notice how that intro, that beginning, was where we left off and just continued that story? And then they like, okay, we're gonna cut.
Man,
We'll cut here and then do the intro.
Yep.
Like,
I love it when it's like they made one big movie and then just decided to like slice it into different
chunks.
scenes.
Yeah,
And it's almost seamless, the transitions.
the Juju Island incident. I love that line. The difference is skin deep. You're still weak inside. And why do you look like a marionette puppet? Oh,
Now see that big one
oh,
came out of nowhere though. It was no big old dudes in there nowhere. He just shows up.
it just shows up out of nowhere and then gets his face smashed to the ground with blood pouring out his face, forehead. Flashback to the guy from Double Dungeon.
Mm, 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 mm. So you did you catch that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It seems that the
That
system doesn't want you to die just yet.
Correct.
yeah.
The penalty quest, which he's going to do
That's
after
why I
he
think it was just his subconscious messing with him, not the system.
because he said he was going to do the penalty. He was going to do his daily after he finished that, but he never got a chance to finish it. So now he's on the penalty zone,
Yeah,
which should
yeah.
save his life.
And be back. You mentioned that last week to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. And now that he's in the penalty zone, he can take as much potion and stuff he wants. He can fully heal himself. It don't matter.
Ain't blame him for that.
Yep.
Too bad he can't actually because his hit points are too low, so he can't heal anything.
Oh, but now, hey, what can I do? I'm gonna just fight.
Those things probably not nearly as tough as what he been facing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pop quiz. Do we remember what the colors mean when you see the name
Yep.
of the beast?
Yeah, they're on. So,
Yeah, if they're orange, they're less dangerous. He can fight them. If they're red, they're harder to beat. Each color has,
Yep.
and then if white, they're the easiest thing
Orange
to
is
beat.
like on his level.
Yeah.
Red is harder.
He can't be working late, can he be? I love the next thing she says. He can't have a girlfriend. Wait. She kind of stops herself. That's Night Killer. Plot point.
eh,
Now you, There's still 25 minutes
It's a
more damage
beautiful
to
blade
armor.
too.
Oh, that's very nice. It's a very. If that was in a true game, I would have kicked that absolutely just for that how good it looks.
Yeah.
If I see that knife somewhere built in this action, the actual metal, I'm gonna buy it.
Somebody probably
Oh,
has
you
tried
know
to
they
build
got
it.
them.
Somebody has tried to
Yeah.
build it.
It's all about finding it.
If they have the Kingdom Hearts sword, I know they're gonna create
Somebody,
this.
somebody built the stuff from solo leveling because it's just interesting.
Ruler's hand. Huh. That ability.
Too big. He has 10 seconds. Time to prepare. I love how he wraps his arm like a fighter. The rest will come
Got all those
on.
bruises and cuts and stuff on it.
They're like, where is he? Where is he? It's been a few hours, but you guys have grown in number. It's time for me to fight. It's time for me to feast. That's basically- Wait, they've tried to raid this place 3 times? Wow.
Apparently so.
They've
Well,
failed all
yeah.
3.
This is the, if I'm not mistaken, this is the island.
This is the island with the bugs, but I think we've seen a
Yeah.
tease of this from the first episode of the season, but then we haven't. They've said they've tried to go 3 times to finish off the island, but they've not been successful.
Yeah.
Oh, that throw though. Yep, go after the mages and destroy the army.
That pose, awesome.
That pose was
Woo!
beautiful. That pose
Oh,
was
That's
this is a
definitely
slaughterhouse.
a screensaver picture.
This is a slaughterhouse, bro. That was a screensaver.
God's hand, or what is it, ruler's hand?
yeah.
Like he's
This is
mastered it already.
3 left. Oh, and then we're the rest of the three left. We're gonna make a golem and see if we can defeat this thing.
Man, I could, like, just watching this part makes me want to see him do it in a regular dungeon.
Uh-huh.
Woo!
How are you stopping that with a dagger sword thing? Oh yeah, because it's still active. Boom.
He said, "Kami Kami Ha." Y'all heard him.
Yep, yep, pretty much. All the armor and stuff just dissipates.
I like how it went back to armor, the what it originally came from.
Correct, not just black goo. 4 hours
Or just
and
one
20
big
minutes.
giant thing laying on the floor.
When a player goes, he's death comes towards him, basically. Yep. Your job is necromancy. By the way, why would necromancy be connected to intelligence?
Intelligence is usually video
Yeah.
game connected to magic.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the more intellect you have, the more MP you can use.
But this system's like, nope, it's not your intelligence. It's something different. There's some reason, another reason you're because you've been close to death so
Well,
many
it
times.
probably still is, but they're just like, this is what you deserve, you murderer.
Yeah.
You're like, you murderer, you might as well be a necromancer.
Oh, example? Look around you. Yep, it was prearranged. It's the system doing this. Still, it's interesting. The title of the show.
Depending on the investment points, you have exceeded the points. Bonus points awarded.
Let's oh, you. Oh, wow. He grew a
Exceeded
lot.
the class threshold. So he evolved twice, basically.
Yep. You evolved
Yeah.
twice. By the way, I think they don't say it here. Think about something. Think about the fact he went to the penalty zone. Think about the fact he healed himself. He got a bonus for having his health at high level.
Well,
He
he
did,
couldn't heal
Well,
himself in a penalty zone.
but he restored his health in the penalty zone. When he comes back, he's at
he
a
when he
better health level. So he got a bonus for that.
Yeah. Although, in his defense, he didn't use any magic or anything to restore his health. He only got his health up by leveling up.
Yeah, he did. And they're white, which means he can extract them.
Yes. Use it. Sorry. The
Rise.
the
No. Yep. And all these spirits wake up.
arise.
man, I
And I
can't
love
wait
how
to go back.
Jindu's laughing. He's like, "Oh, I got all these army now."
And I notice how they are the same blue and look as the other from the first dungeon.
Correct. Like the system.
That's his color too. That
Yes,
blue
it
and
is.
black.
Blue
That's
and
the
black.
colors
Yeah.
he used.
Hey, thanks.
Hmm.
Can I extract this air? Can I extract it, Chris? Can I extract it, Chris?
Let's go.
I love this part. It's like
Let's go.
one fail.
He said you gotta want it harder than that, dog.
Hmm.
2 fail.
You still ain't showing me you
By
want
the
it,
way,
Jen.
this is where I wrote this whole conversation from when he starts talking to the end because it all makes sense. This is amazing how they did this. Switches back to Janu. He starts talking about something.
Serve me. Spoken like a true king.
There it is.
Yep. I like the red man on his helmet. That's so cool. And they gave him his cape.
That
Oh.
gate, bro. That cape was the flyest part of that whole part.
Man.
You never stole that.
Yeah, you give keep his name. He's like Chris.
Yeah, yeah, level 7 too.
Oh, this part.
Yes,
Bam.
my
Mm,
king.
mm, mm.
Boom. Mm. Woo.
Got it. That's it.
Yep.
And that's the end of the episode.
Woo wee.
Oh, oh okay. I don't normally ask for this. But Chris did a couple of these already. Deon, do you want to go through this?
Oh man. You gonna let me do the honors?
Yes, go right ahead, my friend. We'll do it in 3 parts because the first part of this was mainly a lot of talking, a lot of like setup stuff. This middle part is the fight, and then the ending part. So I'll let you take the floor for that.
All right. So when we first come in, we come in with a wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Let's pick right off on this butt whooping we were getting when we left. And you see our main character Jinwoo going through the survival challenge and struggling. I mean, struggling to the point where his subconscious mind starts kicking in, and whether it's the system or just his mind, but it's literally taunting him to give up. You go through that, and then you go into the cutscene of his sister. Was it his sister?
Yep, sister. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess you get
You
the
get to
intro.
that. You get the intro, but then you get the sister walking. She walks out of a room, sees that the food's still there, wondering what's going on with her brother.
And then you also get the cutscene of the Hunter Guild's the leader of the Hunter Guild and his assistant going over the plan for them returning to the Bug Island and basically sitting in angst about that whole situation going on.
Hmm. So
Then
that's
that's the beginning of that.
yeah, that's the beginning. Um, Chris, what do you think about this first part?
Yo, man, so the fact that they come right back into the fight is cool because we know after that fight with Ingress, he was already wiped out. Because I mean, woo, Ingress was tapping that ass, boy. I'm sorry. Anyways, so the fact that he's going up against all these knights, when as soon as he starts having doubts, that's when we start getting the voices of all these other people who are mocking him and calling him this and calling him that. So that was a whole psychological moment, which I love seeing.
I will also say too, bringing back the sister in this and bringing the sister back, and she basically asks, "Wait, where is he? He's not working late. He normally doesn't work late. Does he have a girlfriend?" And then she stops herself and she goes, "But he's
Nah.
also, but yeah, she kind of blows that off. But then she goes, well, but he's also taking care of me. He's my teaching. He's teaching and everything. So it's like she's kind of confused, but she's like, I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. Um, yeah, but this first part was pretty really good. Deon, get in the next part where he ends up heading to the penalty zone and why.
So when we come back in after the cutscene, we come into him having his head face planted into the cobblestone by this giant knight and about to die when all of a sudden you see you're about to be transported for your penalty for not completing your daily task. So the system is pretty much saving his life here. And then he gets transported into the penalty zone where he can use his fatigue refills, but you see that he can't use his MP refills and he still has to charge in head first to fight all the bugs and stuff. Then that's when you get the sister scene. Then you see him purchase or he defeats all the bugs and he gets to make a purchase. And that's when he gets the Night Slayer, which is a
Hmm.
really cool looking blade. And he also uses the rune that he got from Egress in the previous show or the previous episode to unlock one of his newer skills. I think it's called Ruler's Hand.
Yep, that's correct.
And once he uses the Ruler's Hand, the he wraps his hand like a BA and gets ready to go in because he has a window that says he's about to now get teleported back into the thing. And before it reaches one, we get a cutscene.
Yep.
And the cutscene
Um,
goes into. Oh, do we want to keep going from here?
yeah, keep going from here because we can go through the part where they're playing with all them on it and then stop after that.
So the cutscene is pretty much just the Hunters Guild getting ready to go over to the Bug Island, and they spot something weird, but they don't really focus on what they spot. Um, and then we get back into the fight with Jinwoo and the Survival Knights.
Okay. I'll start this off, Chris, before I let you answer this. The fact that the system saved him because he forgot to do a daily quest is kind of funny. This is one of the luckiest men in the alive because anybody else would have probably already been dead. And I like the fact the system that they use the psychological thing of like his subconscious taunting him a little bit because he's called the weakest hunter. He's not that strong. Even the line at one point the subconscious uses going, "You look strong on the outside, but you're still weak on the inside. It's only skin deep." Basically calling out the fact yeah, you look great on the outside, but it's skin. You're still weak on the inside on the skin. It's only skin deep, and that's the difference. But also the fact they're showing the fact they're going back to Juju Island and trying to fight the bugs. Like you said, the monitor thing is kind of interesting because they show something on the monitor, but they don't tell what it is. But then also you have Jinwoo preparing and getting that dope sword, like that dope sword, Night Killer. Like that's amazing. 25% durability, 25 more damage against knights. Uh, Chris, what do you think about this middle section here?
Okay, so this middle section was cool. Like seeing, okay, now when they started adding the little stories in here, like seeing, like you said, seeing his sister in there, everything started to come together. Like, bro, he's really been out there for a long time. Like that was like that. I think that was a guess that they was trying to go. Now, and so seeing him like get tossed around from everything happening, and then finally seeing him get saved by the game. Now. He called it luck, bro, but and then some people said it was a game. Now, either way, bro, somebody was watching over you for shoot. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Guardian Angel.
man, well, guardian demon from the way it looked.
And then Deon, go ahead and finish out the rest of this because the rest of this actually makes kind of go flows together a lot better if you finish it out.
So we from this part we get him going into the survival nights and basically figuring out it's not the knights he had to destroy, it's the mages that are controlling the knights. So he goes in, tears them a new one. They do everything they can to survive, even spawning golem out of all of the remaining knights. He then kills them, kills the golem, and continues to finish the survival quest. The survival quest now sends him a notification of the class change. To his surprise, and to I think most of ours, they gave us a bunch of prompts on why they're doing it. He thought he was going to get to choose it. They're like, nope, we're going to choose it for you. Gave him a bunch of prompts like the player craves great power. He leaves nothing but blood everywhere he goes. Uh, and eventually they give him this prompt saying that his new class is now Necromancer. From the Necromancer, you see him go like, wait, but I don't have any stats put into intellect, so how can I be, this magic class? And he starts to be surprised. So they even gave him a thing where he say, you can, accept this or deny it. His first thought was to deny it. Then they were like, are you sure this is a rare class? Da da da. He starts to think about it and starts to pondering, like, well, what advantages does this have? What examples do I have of this? Ends up stepping on a knight's helmet, like, wait, I just fought a bunch of them, and realizes that the mages were actually necromancers. So he's like, wait, I can do this. Chooses it. They do this overpowering scene that looks like Goku going Super Saiyan times 10. And it shows him maxing and surpassing even the game's intentions. So he not only becomes the necromancer, but he upgrades again to become I forget exactly what it was, but it was like Shadow King or something
Shadow,
like that.
yeah,
Shadow
Shadow
Ruler,
King, yeah, Shadow
Shadow
Ruler.
Monarch. Shadow Monarch.
Shadow
Yep.
Monarch, there it was.
Yep.
Yeah, and he then goes to a cutscene. We go to a cutscene of the Hunter Guild leader and his assistant looking out a window. They realize, oh, it's dawn. We've been here all night, and they're still basically just in angst about what happens over in the island. Um, he goes, "Sorry for keeping you so late, but thank you for and let me humor me." And then we cut back to the scene where he turns into the necromancer. From there, we get him labeling his new ability to summon the spirits of the dead. That's what I'm gonna call it. And it is my favorite word in the entire lineage of solo leveling, and it is you should have watched it. But we
but
no, so of course.
I like the fact they did use a rise in the title, and that's what people were kind of confused by when they did this episode. Why they call it the title? That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. He's rising. He's having them come to stand. So yeah, continue,
Yeah.
Well,
Deon.
it's a
And
lot
it's
more deeper than
it's
that. He's a rising as a character. He
Correct.
has a move where he has a rise. It's like, and then just so happens that the next season is based off what a rise. So
Yeah, correct.
yeah. And then at this point in the I want to say the manga, but I know for a fact the webtoon of it, that word is like really, really big and bold and like it makes a statement when you read it.
Mm-hmm.
So then he brings up all the dead knights and he has a thought. Once he realizes that he has not only just the knights, but he has the mages, he has a thought to do the most beautiful thing in history of necromancers, which is try to raise Egris. And so he goes to Egris. He tells him arise, and Egris said, "Nah, bro, you ain't ready for that." He tells him again. He said, "You almost ready." And you get this big explosion, and then Jinwoo has a heart to heart with himself and with Egris, and starts to speak like a true king. And Egris, he says, "Arise." And so he did. Pops over to a cutscene. And it's still just the Hunter Guild. But what happens in this cutscene is something that makes the end of this tie so well together, and it's so beautiful. But I know we said 3 parts, but I'm so interested in getting your guys's output or input on what happens before. So should I finish this out the last like 5 minutes?
Go ahead. Go ahead. So I'm gonna
Okay.
explain. I'm gonna explain from the time we see the guildmaster again to the end. That whole back and forth not conversation, but like dialogue thing is really interesting.
Yeah.
I've written it down word for word the night when me and Chris watched it.
Oh wow.
I wrote
Yes,
it
I'll
down.
let you. I won't even touch on that. I'll let you get into that. The grit of that. Just know that he says something super deep, meaningful, and while he's saying this, you see Igris arise, step over behind Jinwoo, and take a knee. And once he takes a knee, you see all the other knights fall. And it's basically just a moment of victory. You see Jinwoo smile and everything just falls into place. And with that, gentlemen, was the episode of Arise. So what did you guys think?
Chris, I'll let you start off. What did you think about that back half? You taking a deep breath.
now let me be really and try to choose my words carefully.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
There is a certain level of awesomeness that came from this episode that reminds me of times of old, if I may say that, because I am kind of getting there. Especially, but there are some the level of excitement of looking forward to not only the next episode but the next season of what may be to come. You haven't felt this type of energy coming from a single show, at least for the last few years. It's sad to see it end on just like I wish it was 25 episodes at this point.
It's
I
so hard to
I
say
I,
goodbye.
I will say this, ladies and gentlemen. Chris was probably the most not skeptical. He doesn't read the manga like I do. He doesn't even he doesn't even look at the webcomic like Deon does. But yet when he is saying that, he is saying that with just anime eyes, and yet that's what the show invokes.
And I'm trying to be really calm saying it because like I'm cleaning my nails with a knife, so it's like
Well,
like
put the knife down and let your passions out, brother.
like
no, because then that would require a lot of cursing, and yeah, I don't want
yeah,
to do that.
Oh
you're
yeah,
trying
I,
no, no,
I
you're
think
trying to
no.
hold you're
I've
trying to hold that.
already exceeded my lot of curse words for the podcast.
Um, I will say this: that middle part at the end with the conversation between the guild masters talking and then Jinu talking. I won't read through it because it would take me a good bit to read through it all. But basically, the gist is he tells his assistant ultimately want every day somebody reawakens. Ultimately, somebody's out there right now reawakening. You know why? Because he did this or that. And the basically this or that is he did this to reawaken. He has done this to he's done this certain thing to reawaken. What we see next, Janu reawakening and reawakening in a way where he's getting Icarus to arise. And he does and they show that off back and forth, so back and forth. And then you hear the guildmaster say, the funny part is I envisioned this. I envisioned one day somebody's gonna do this. There, and when it happens, it's gonna be something great. That greatness is gonna be amazing. But ultimately, we don't know when that's gonna happen. We don't know how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. Then we cut back again to Jinnu finally getting Icarus to rise. When Icarus finally rises, and he stands there in awe, knowing he got him to rise. He writes Icarus as a name, and Icarus walks behind him. And the last little bit of this thing going back and forth, this conversation is basically he says, but ultimately the thing is, whatever happens, we're gonna see somebody changed within this, and the change is gonna be drastic from the guildmaster. Then you hear Janu say, uh, basically, follow me or I command you, kind of thing, at the end before the credits. I'm giving you the Cliff Note version of that because, like I said, I wouldn't read it, but it's a 5 minute long conversation, 5 minute long dialogue back and forth. But it's one of the most well done back and forth in actually in the anime where it's not a true
Yeah, it
conversation
was
with two
so
people,
beautiful.
not two conversation with two people, but the two people aren't talking to each other. It goes off what one person's saying back to the other, back and forth. It's a call and response. So the guildmaster saying something, and Jimmy's responding in the same way with something else. It works to perfection. And the thing is, I'm like Chris. I wish this was 25. I think wish this was 25 episodes. I want to see where they're headed next. Well, we're getting that in October. We're getting it at the end of the year, somewhere in October, November. I'm down.
The fall season.
Like you are gonna make a lot of fans. You're gonna make a lot of fans because you haven't watched this yet. I think a lot of you should go watch it now. It is worth your time. And that's come from somebody who had read the manga first and then watched the anime. Yeah, this is the worst.
Yeah, I'm glad it's over
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like
because
if
then
I
I
could
can
we
go back and watch it in English
and see all the context.
and watch it all over
Yes.
again.
Correct. There we go. So I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna ask this from Deon first. Deon, by the way, thank you for going through that recap. I've had Chris do a couple of those for us. I want Deon to do one. I figured he wanted to do this episode. I will let him do the last episode, but this episode was probably the best to do
Thank you. I feel so honored.
it.
I hope I did it
Deon,
justice.
oh no, you did very well. You did very well. Deon, what would you give Soul Leveling episode 12 for a rating and the season as a whole as well?
Whew. I'm a little biased after this episode. I'm not gonna lie. It was so well put together and just beautifully crafted. Seeing Jin will go through his transformation like that entire scene was so beautiful from the moment we see him come back in to the moment we hit credits, come back in from the penalty to the moment we hit credits was some of the most beautifully animated scenes I had seen all year. With that being said, I'm giving this episode a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Now, as a season whole, I still have my gripe about the first two episodes. Should have been one episode. What I can say is they still kept up with that, with all the cliffhangers and leaving questions, but answer them in the next episode. They did so much of that that it almost let me let go of that.
Okay. Okay.
Almost. So I'll give it a
I was about to say
9.8.
keyword being almost.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost. So I'll give it a 9.8.
Chris, what would you give Solo Leveling episode 12 as a rating, and what would you give the season as a whole as a rating?
So now that I've actually put my knife down and my nails are clean, I can actually talk how I want to talk. This is what Deon was waiting for.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
So check me out. Let me put it to you this way. As an episode, I'm gonna give this a straight up 9. Bro,
Okay.
this was a fabulous episode. Like for me being a person who doesn't know what's coming up next, I would like to have seen maybe a bit more context into where the show may be going next season, but hey, I still loved it. So it definitely gets a good strong 9. Now, for the season, and I'm sure Dion's probably gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna give it a 9.4. And the only
That
reason
makes
I
sense.
can't The only and no, but see, no, that's not the part where you're gonna hate me. The part that I'm only
Oh.
giving a 9.4 is because y'all promised me 6 seasons, so that means I gotta keep it up for 6 seasons.
I think they will.
Oh.
I think they will. I think they will
I
keep it up
know
for.
they will.
Oh, I absolutely do. It it's hard because you already promised 6 seasons, and I don't think you would have done that if you don't think you could have kept it up.
I don't think they would have done that if they didn't have the content already ready.
Correct. That's the other problem.
If they
You
if they
have
had people working night and day, they probably could give us the 6 seasons worth by the fall. So I think
No,
we
but
only get
the claim that I'm making is that it has to be just as good.
the story. That's what I'm saying. I feel like the story will be, and I haven't finished the webtoon or light novel or any of that just yet.
no.
But where do you fall? How do you? You know what? I take everything I just said back because we did just watch Mash, who first season was amazing by the same studios,
Now
and
you
then
see
they
where I'm coming
completely fell
from.
off. So yeah, I
I
renege
was waiting for
everything
it
I
to
just
click.
said. I
Yeah.
apologize.
But
Ooh,
but
yeah.
here's my thing. I normally would agree with you in that case, but here's the thing you that gave me cause for pause for that. You gave me the mom. You've given me the Icarus fight, and like Chris mentioned, they use the webtoon. You've used the source material it's based off of. So ultimately, you ain't gonna mess the story up if you're using the source material. And you've already teased things we were gonna see probably in season two anyway. You're teasing the jig jig thing. You're teasing the fact that he has kind of gone to the dark side, but he still has humanity left in him. You're teasing the fact that his sister still cares. You're teasing the fact that, oh, Shahane is not great going back to his island, but she's okay with it for now. There's a thing about that. Like, it's gonna be hard pressed, and that's why I said earlier with Mash. If Mash sits out for a year and a half, 2 years, let Solo Leveling be its thing, they will be fine because Solo Leveling season 2 and 3 will be amazing. That's
Yo,
that's what
season
I
two
think.
is gonna be great.
Going to be fun. But I also think it's a worry when you have like I think the thing was I think a lot of people were kind of down on it because eh, that people just care about the fighting. Oh, ultimately, I'll say this right now: episode 12 gave you story. story on top of story on top of a little bit of fighting, enough to make it make sense. And the fight they
Yeah.
gave you is a gauntlet, that basically a gauntlet, and that's it. But the gauntlet that
And
makes
see,
sense.
at this point, B Mac, and you guys tell me if you agree with this or not. This point, I don't even care if it's all about the fighting, like you say, because if this is all about the fighting, what we got with these 12 episodes, and yes, I'm only saying 12, I know it's 13, but if this is all about the fighting, then let it be
Yeah,
because
fair.
this was great for it to be all about the fighting. Let it be then.
And I think what Chris brought up
And you
along,
stick with your dangers in my heart.
I think the thing Chris brought up earlier, I think you brought it too, Deon. They're, I think you brought it more, Deon, but then Chris brought up a little bit. At least they're giving us a lost story on the front end, and then the back half can be about the fighting because you gave us the context of the world,
Yeah.
of the people, of the background players. Without that, none of the other stuff makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
That's the thing though. They have to keep it up. That
Yeah,
is it.
they do have to keep it up.
Now that would be a production drop, not a story drop. And that's coming from I don't want to spoil too much or anything like that. And I
I
haven't
would,
even read too far past this point.
Neither have
That's why
I.
I'm
I think I've only done a chapter past this point. And I stopped myself.
yeah.
but I mean,
So
that's the point
from
where I can say what I say because I don't know.
I
yeah, but just from what I'm hearing comment wise about the what the novel is and where we are in the actual novel, like how early we are in the novel, I feel like if we drop the ball on this, it's a production drop. It's not a story drop.
are we technically? I don't know if you can answer this, Dion. Are we technically still in book one?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. We are technically still in book one.
Yeah, we still haven't even created our arch, but yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. We're still so early that six seasons of this, even if there's 24 episode seasons, like you should be able to keep up story wise. So if we drop the ball on this, it will definitely be because A1 dropped the ball.
Oh, okay. I figured something out now. So technically, in the Soul Loving Volume 2 on Spotify, Book 2 starts with the potential jackpot, Igris the Blood Red, Quest results, and Shadow Monarch. Shadow Monarch's the last thing we've seen from this season. So
Yep.
we have technically started Book 2,
Yeah,
but
but we
it's
haven't even.
started. We haven't technically started Book 2 because it's still combining with the rest of
Yeah,
Book
it's
1.
like one. We read one chapter.
Yes, technically, and that's why I looked it up. I'm like, oh wow. So basically, I'm gonna when I catch up again, I'm gonna get to get to this, and then we're gonna start the whole new thing
Yep.
again. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll give both these now. The episode gets a 10. That's handily easily. That's easy. Like
Okay.
that's even thing. But this season gets a 9.9. This season gets a 9.9. There's only one little small nick thing, and it's not even dialogue or anything. It's not dialogue or anything like that. It's more. I think if the first two episodes pacing wise were a little stronger, the rest of this would have made sense. And I think that's the only thing I would have said. I agree with you on partially.
Yep.
I don't think it should be the same. I don't think it should be one episode, but I think the pacing would have been better a little bit.
Yeah.
But the pacing
Yeah.
picked up when we got to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It picked back up, so it ended up not hurting itself too much.
Yeah. Like if they were two different episodes, but they did it the way these last two episodes were,
Mhm.
then it would have been fine for me. It just felt super bad timing wise.
I'll say this. This will probably be one of those shows that people remember when we get to October. This will be one of those shows where people are like, "Oh yeah, I remember how the first season went. Let's see how the second season goes." This will be talked about. Unlike MASH,
Oh,
MASH won't be talked about much at all. But this will stay in people's minds because how it ended. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it heads next. In October, once we get that announcement, how many episodes they're going to do, everything like that, I'm down.
see,
That's going to
Mash
be
season one was memorable, and Mash season two was forgettable. So when they cancel out, you just forget about them both.
correct.
See, I don't. I hated season 2 from very first episode. You guys liked it a little bit.
But it,
Season 1
yeah.
was okay to me. It wasn't the best, but it was enjoyable compared to season 2.
Mhm.
Here's my thing. And Chris, I have to apologize to you because you asked me this question and I said, oh, yeah, no, it's going to be amazing. The song, you said, do you think people are going to forget about it or enjoy it? I said, no, they'll love it. Now they're going to forget about it because the season was so
Thank
horrible.
you, thank
It's
you.
going to drop off. I was rooting for them to come through with the last 3 episodes, and 2 of those 3 did
Did.
decently. That third one, man, they yeah, garbage.
Now I said this also before. I do believe the intro can go to another anime and do just as good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Care to guess what anime I think?
where Shangri-La?
No, Brandon.
Nah, I can't tell me. I'm going to guess that.
I actually think it should be go as an intro for One Piece
Oh, yeah. That would be kind of funny. That would actually be kind of funny. It'd be actually worth it. It
for
would
this
work
new season.
just barely.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know.
But hold
I
that
like
thought,
our
though.
iconic musics.
We're not going to have time to get into that tonight. This is going to be a long podcast anyway. I'm going to end this off here. If you haven't started watching Solo Leveling, go ahead and watch it. I think you need to get caught up before we get to season 2 in October. If you want to go find the web novel or the light or the manhwa, go find it for yourself. But ultimately, that was episode 50 of the Anime Dojo. That's one of the best episodes we've probably done this so far this year and so far in this run because we kind of have a more understanding of what's going to be going on. We've done this for long enough now. We kind of understand what's going to be going on with how anime has been changing over the last year or so. This next season is going to be fun. Look forward to it because we're gonna start out with Reincarnated Slime and Kaiju number 8. By the time we get to the middle of the end of the season, we're gonna do Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. So follow us on this ride. I do thank Chris and Deon for joining me. This will go on the podcast feed right after it processes, and it'll be up on YouTube on Thursday. I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy, and hope you for next time. See you.
Bring
Later,
bom bom bring
dudes.
bom bom bring bom bom boom.